so glad to have you here for another episode of The Local Connection with the Givlin Gals. This time we had Lisa McGrath from LPM Enterprises join us, and we had the pleasure of talking about maximizing your capital reserve project with success. Let's get into it.
Welcome to The Local Connection with the Givlin Gals, joining forces with my amazing mother to bring you illuminating interviews and invaluable marketing insights. Get ready to ignite your business with The Local Connection. Hello and welcome to the Givlin Gals Good News. Thank you for joining us today. We have Lisa McGrath from LPM Enterprises. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, ladies.
It is so great to have you here. I have to have a question because you do such a wide and varied business. How did you ever get started in the industry?
Oh, that's an interesting question. So I got started in the industry when I became a board member, which is interesting to say. But I was a board member for about 7 years. And then while I was a board member, remember saying to myself, because we went through so many property managers, I was like, this job can't be that hard. So I became a property manager and I loved it. I loved becoming a property manager. And then I had my daughter. So then I went and worked for my ex-spouse's company and got to learn kind of full circle how it goes because he worked for a lot of condos. And I saw everything the way, like through the eyes of every aspect of it. And I kind of said to myself, boards are so vulnerable and they need somebody in their corner that's going to make sure that their money's being spent accordingly and not nickel and diming them, not double dipping. And the communication is there because that's a huge thing.
So you specialize in condos, right?
Correct.
Okay, so I think Victoria has a question for you that I'm curious about.
Yeah, so as someone who's involved with condos, what sort of like the heaven that you bring and what sort of problems might they be facing that they know they should reach out to you?
Any capital reserve project that any condo board is going to be doing. So we talk about capital reserve, we're talking about reserve fund studies. So those are things that on the exterior or interior common property is what's going to be doing any type of renovation or maintenance. So if they're doing roofs or siding, or if they live in a apartment style stack building, then they might be doing the front foyers. And they're bringing in contractors. So a lot of times they don't know where to start. They don't know how to reach out to these contractors. They rely on their management teams who are already heavily downloaded with all the other things they have, because property managers have a very specific job. And it's not to oversee outside projects for capital reserve. It's to oversee, making sure they have the maintenance for snow and landscaping, to make sure they have garbage pickup, that all the lights are still on, plumbers that need to come in and do maintenance, things like that. And they have a portfolio of anywhere between 10 and 14 properties, some of them more. So it's unfair to ask a property manager to hone in on certain projects. Now, a lot will give them different trades to look into, but at the end of the day, it's the board who ultimately picks and makes all of these decisions. And if they're not paying attention to the trades that they're bringing on, a lot of things can go sideways. So I make sure that I have proper contracts signed, that I know who all their subs are, because the biggest problem that a condo will face is having a lien on their property, and 9 times out of 10 it's the subs, because the subs aren't getting paid by the GC or by the other company that's bringing them in. So then all of a sudden the sub gets mad, and instead of liening the company, they lien the property because it's higher damage impact, right? So which means that everybody loses, because now the board is like, I paid this guy, why isn't this guy paying? And it turns into a mess. People who are selling condos now have a caveat because there's a lien on the property. So yeah, it turns into a big mess. That's usually where I will come in, and I'll make sure that everything is kind of where it needs to be. I vet all their contractors, I work with their management teams, and move forward accordingly for the board.
That's very important with the communication on the
awesome.
contractors. Yeah, absolutely.
Especially considering, if I recall correctly, most condo boards are made up of members that actually live in the condo, and it's not their job. They're not the experts in the field of construction or trades or trade vetting. So having somebody like you in their corner is huge. Do people know that you exist?
Not a lot. There's a lot of people that they're like, it's funny, I'll go into meetings and I'll say, this is what I do. And they're like, oh my God, where were you like a year ago when I was doing this project? And I'm like, I was here. But yeah, you're absolutely correct. And the one thing I always try to remind people of is they're a non-for-profit corporation, multi-million-dollar non-for-profit corporation, and they're all volunteers. And and it's interesting, I've watched the dynamics of people actually get sued being on the condo board, because they've made decisions what they thought was in the best interest of the condo, and other people have come in and said, no, it wasn't. And then I have to try to explain to the entire corporation, let's maybe drop the lawsuit because everybody's suing everybody. So, because that comes out of your corporate funds, right?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So what type of service do you offer? When should somebody be calling you?
So if they know that they have to change their windows, doors, siding, roofs before that project breaks ground, someone like me comes in, because then we start the process together and I'm their advocate. So I stand and I make sure that everything they need is being addressed accordingly. When I say that, I mean, I will bring in all the vendors that they require. I will go through it with them. I will help them select based on what I can tell them about that vendor. So when I say vet them, I mean, like, I look into their projects. I call people from their projects. I go visit their projects. I go meet the people that are actually dealing with it, like dealing with the contract itself. So I meet the owners and the project managers and all that. But that's basically what I am to them, is I'm their hired project manager. The difference is I'm always available. So when I'm dealing with a condo of any magnitude, it doesn't matter how large or small the project is, you can always access me. It's not, when you're calling your trade and it's like, I can't get a hold of this guy. I hear that so often, and I'm like, no, yeah, you can call me. So my hours of operation go till about 5 o'clock, but if you text me, you'll always get a response.
Perfect.
Yeah.
That's really good to know.
Yeah.
I think customer service is lost, so.
Especially in the trades, that seems to be a fairly consistent thing, right? As I hired him and I put down half my deposit. Now I have no idea where he went.
And that's a huge thing. People are very emotional about their money. So I want to make sure that I help them with that aspect, because their money in the grand scheme is my money. So I'm going to make sure that I'm not making the wrong choices, because it would be like it's my condo. I'm making sure that when we say yes to this, everything is checked off. Have they been in contact? Have they signed the contracts? Have they hired, have they ordered the materials? What's going on before I'm like, sure, here's a check. So I help them with that by saying, we're not paying this guy right now because this is this. Or I look at their markup and go, sharpen your pencil.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Could you maybe give us an example about a recent project that you've helped?
Oh, there's a lot.
One of your favorites?
One of my one of my favorites. So I did have a project that I helped out in Canmore. I did a door project for them. I wasn't able to complete them because myself and the property management company, they had moved one property management company to the other. And so the new property management company and I weren't seeing eye to eye. They didn't understand what I did, and they felt that I was kind of taking money from them because they would charge a percentage to do project management. But I loved that board. They were amazing. So it was all B&B. Airbnbs, and it was a beautiful little townhouse complex inside of the heart of Canmore. And but I got them like their doors. So when we originally went out to go tender for doors, it was like $36,000 for 46 doors. And then we waited to like a season, and then it came back, and all of the suppliers were coming back really high, like 90,000. And I'm like, for a slab, for a door slab? So that's not even any of the hardware put on it. That's not any of the etching out of it. That's just the door. And I'm like, oh my God, this is insane. So I went straight direct to suppliers, cut out the guys that were, going to put it together, and said, what's it going to cost me for doors? Well, I got all their doors said, done, and everything for probably about 50 grand. We're talking installed, door slabs, painted, and all their hardware.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a huge, and you saved them $40,000 from that client perspective, absolutely. Yeah. And now they have a door on their home, which is very important for so many reasons. Yeah.
And the thing with condos everyone has to remember is they have what's called a continuity clause, so everything has to be the same. You can't be like, oh, I want an orange door, and I want a pink door, and I want this type of design on my door, this type of mitering on my door. It's like, no, we all have to have the same door.
So in doing that, I know with contingency funds, when they're trying to build a reserve, one of the things when you go to sell your condo is how healthy is the reserve, and how much impact has the previous board done, and what's the plan for future. So are you able to help boards plan for future expenditures that touch that reserve fund too?
Absolutely. I can sit down and take a look at their reserve funds and see where there's hired companies out there that I've worked alongside that actually do the reserve fund studies. A lot of them are pretty on par as long as the boards are bringing them in every 2 to 5 years. 5 years is usually the base, that's normal. But because things are changing so rapidly, I would say every 2 years because material costs are skyrocketing. So something that we could have done in 2020 is now almost triple the price now. Right? So if their reserve is sitting at, oh, it's only going to cost you $30,000 to do all brand new doors, I'll be like, oh no, double, triple that. So yeah.
So you do great consulting then too for them?
Absolutely. Yeah, I'll look at everything for them, and if there's any questions they have, and I'll work with their property manager. So absolutely.
I mean, that's very beneficial for the condo board, for the condo members, for the contractors that are working with those, the property managers. So thank you for that. That's amazing. Where can we find you? If, we've seen this, they're on a condo, what can they do to reach out to you?
Well, you can reach me on my cell phone. My cell phone is the easiest way to reach me, 403-477-7254, or you can check my website at lpmenterprises.net.
Thank you so much for taking the time to spend with us today. You've really given us an education on something that I don't think we knew about before you sat down with us, and I'm hoping that a lot more boards in the city, and I think you do some nationally, will be able to learn a little bit more and get the benefit from you. Thank you so much.
Thanks, ladies.
Thank you.
So up next today is Heather Andrews. Heather is the author, founder, owner, creator of Empire Authors Academy and Get You Visible. She's a fantastic lady, and she'll be a breath of fresh air on helping you get your story out.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of The Local Connection. Remember, implement those marketing gems and watch your business soar. I'm Jen, signing off with inspiration. Until next time.